So I'm really happy to have Jason Leonard and Max Steinman talking to me today. We're going to talk all about the Canadian market. But before we get into the specifics of the market, guys, why don't you tell us a bit about your backgrounds in the Canadian real estate industry?
Thanks, Edmund. My name is Jason Leonard, and I'm the co-founder of what was Landlord Web Solutions and is now Rentsync. Been in the industry for a little over 20 years, having co-founded a couple of different listing sites in Canada prior to Landlord Web Solutions, and then also spent a little bit of time on the other side of the business working for one of the fastest growing REITs here in Canada prior to starting Landlord Web Solutions / Rentsync.
And yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Max Steinman. I'm currently the interim CEO of Rentsync, but my history has always been in sales and growth and marketing. I've been with Rentsync for 8 years. I started in a sales role with the company when we had 5 employees, and we now have well over 100. Prior to that, I've always been involved in real estate investments and mortgage lending as well. And now I'm in this leadership role, which I really enjoyed over the last few months. So.
Okay, so 2 perfect people to tell us all about a market which, as we were just saying off camera, is a market that we don't hear too much about in the wider real estate portal world. So tell me, guys, how is the Canadian real estate and portal system defined? Is it really similar to the US market?
Actually, want to take that one?
Sure. It is pretty similar. We have a different set of listing sites or marketplaces where renters go. We have our own sort of Canadian brands. There is some overlap, but like many industries in North America, Canada tends to end up with its own brands, say Air Canada or our own grocery chains, which are known as Sobeys and Loblaw. Well, in Canada, we have, Rentals.ca, which is really the main domestic Canadian listing site. Otherwise, the functionality of how you rent an apartment and how you search for an apartment is quite similar to the US for sure.
Okay, and so one thing I want to bring up as well, Jason, you mentioned to me on an email the letters ILS. I don't know what that means. I suspect many of our listeners don't know what that means. I also suspect it might be similar to the MLS south of the border. Could you tell us what is meant by ILS?
It just seems it's a common term that we hear a lot here in the North American market. Typically, it stands for Internet Listing Service or Internet Listing Sites. I think they're sort of interchangeable a little bit, but yeah, that's generally what they mean. So basically, your marketplace.
Okay. And who are the main players in the world of Canadian residential real estate portals? Do US portals have a presence north of the border or not so much? We'll get to Max for that one. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Max.
Yeah, there is some overlap. We work with a company called Zumper, who owns another brand called PadMapper, and they are significant in both markets. And otherwise, though, there has been a small shift recently where some US listing sites are investing more into marketing in Canada and building small teams here. So Zillow being an example of a company that's just has a very small presence here at the moment. Otherwise, we have probably Rentals.ca, as I mentioned, being the top domestic brand. Rent Faster is a major brand out west in Calgary and Edmonton. Rent Board is also a major brand, and then there's Quebec specific brands as well, like Loué, which just translates to rent, loué.com, loué.ca, Alloué. Those are also major brands in the Canadian market.
Okay, and just before we get on to why I wanted to get you guys on specifically to talk about your business, Jason, I wonder if you could tell me what the relationships are like between portals and their customers. Is it as toxic as it is in a lot of other markets?
I mean, I can't speak to a lot of other markets, but I don't think that the relationship has been toxic between the clients in Canada and the portals. That might have a little to do with the fact that portals historically in Canada have been very inexpensive to advertise on compared to, the print that they were accustomed to prior to sort of shifting heavily towards online. So yeah, I mean, I don't think our experience has been that the relationships have been quote unquote toxic.
Okay, that's good to know. All right, guys, let's move on. So the reason that I got you guys on today was that a story came across my inbox a few weeks ago. Basically that a company has been out there consolidating lots of different portal domains in Canada, that company being you guys. So tell me about the Rentals.ca network of portals. How did all the acquisitions come about? Who have you acquired? What is the opportunity that you guys see here?
Yeah, so yes, that's us. We decided about a year and a half ago as part of our strategic plan that Canada really lacked a strong and well-resourced listing network like you see down in the US with, say, an Apartments.com and what CoStar owns. And who better to roll it up than us and bring them together and provide both renters and landlords with a better product to connect them in a better fashion. And Canada is a relatively small country. We've got about 38 million people, which is roughly a tenth of the size of the US, but it's still large enough that if you have a business that is in a market leader position, it can be a really profitable and a business that can have a lot of success. And so we just viewed the opportunity as a way to professionalize the industry better, to have a safer marketplace for renters. You talk about toxicity in the relationship between renters and portals. Without having the right amount of resources behind the network. You can't have things like QA, and you can't have things like spam or fraud detection. And we've been able to achieve a lot of those things by bringing the resources together. And it's not just a race to the bottom in this unbelievably fragmented market where everybody's competing and cutting costs. Instead, we're able to build a much more sustainable business on a go forward. And we're only sort of at the tip of the iceberg with that. So not a lot of like major new features have rolled out other than to just better customer support and better, basically better safety, I would say, is a major thing that we're focused on for renters. So.
Okay. Jason, why don't you tell us a bit about specifics? I don't know how many specifics you can really go into, but specifics about which portal domains that Rentsync has acquired, if you can, how much you've paid, things like that. What are the brand names out there that have been consolidated here?
Well, I mean, the great news is that a lot of these sites were our partners for many years through our syndication platform that's built into the Rentsync system. So we were able to use our own information to identify, who the market leaders are and where the market was growing towards and shifting towards. So first and foremost, we were able to use our own information to decide how we were going to go about consolidating the marketplace. But to Max's point, we centered all of our acquisition activity around the Rentals.ca brand. It was the fastest growing site in Canada, easily, if not number one, number two. It's very, very close in terms of where it is in terms of the market. And then behind that, we acquired Rentfaster.ca, Rentboard.ca, RentCanada.com, Louer.ca and .com. So that covers us in the French market. And then we also picked up TorontoRentals.com. So six total URLs. In terms of how much we spent on these, that's probably something we won't get into.
Right. I've got to ask. It's my bit. As a journalist, I have to ask.
I will say this: it was a very, very substantial. It was in the tens of millions. I can say that. So it wasn't inexpensive. And it was a very big bold decision on our company's part. It, at the time of acquisition, it more than doubled our enterprise value by the time the acquisitions were complete. So, in terms of what it did for our company, in terms of the scope and scale of it, it was significant.
Okay. And what about the opportunity going forward? I would imagine I'm right in saying that you plan to keep these domains separate. I imagine the Canadian real estate portal system is quite regional, what with there being obviously a part of the country that speaks a different language. Can you maybe talk about some of the metrics involved? I think you're allowed to talk about those. I've seen them on a press release.
Yeah, and just to your first point, they will remain individual brands, but we will center them around the Rentals.ca brand as the leading national brand, though in specific markets like Quebec, which internationally a lot of people know the city of Montreal, will center them around Loué in that market because it is a French-speaking market. And in certain markets like Alberta, western region of the country, we'll center them around Rent Faster because it was the leading brand, and we don't want to ruin that brand equity that's being built up. In terms of just some key metrics, last year we did 23 million user-generated sessions. That's users, 23 million users last year. We did 46 million user sessions. We've just in February this year did 2.2 million users, and in February this year did 4.3 million sessions. So we've already improved the run rate of our usage considerably just since December of last year, and they continue to grow those metrics considerably month over month.
Okay, final question for Jason. So what does the future hold for the Rentals.ca network? What kind of synergies are you working on? Is there any specific technology that you think can be brought in now that all the companies have been merged? What kind of things do you see for the future?
Well, I think there's still an opportunity to look at maybe a couple more tuck-in deals. There's a few more sites out there that we're looking at, so there is that possibility. But we're probably putting more of our attention back on our core Rentsync product, where we're going more from list all the way to lease, so that we have that sort of complete 360 view of what the renter journey looks like. And making sure that all of our brands are tucked in and working optimally with the Rentsync platform for the benefit of our customers going forward.
Okay.
Max, do you want to add anything to that?
There's a lot of product development that we need to focus on to just improve the portal itself and give both renters and landlords or property management companies more tools. That's what they're asking for. We have the resources now to be able to do that as a combined network, and so there's going to be a lot, as Jason mentioned, in that list to lease funnel that we're going to focus on, bringing to market. Things like automatic credit checks, things like the ability to self-tour units, the ability to apply right through the portal, or apply via an integrated portal that a specific property management company uses, and ultimately sign a lease. So we'll be focusing a lot of time in that sort of segment of product development, and then even beyond that, even things like paying your rent and so on and so forth. So
okay, sounds good. Sounds exciting. Well, guys, Jason, Max, thanks a lot for giving up your time to talk to me today about a market that we don't hear too much about. I very much look forward to hearing more about the Canadian market in the future, and not have it be like this blank area of portal map that it maybe has been on our publication till now.
No problem. Thanks for having us on, and anytime.